Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Vault Dweller. That's the guy you can see on screen right now, and as always I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first half of the video, and in the second half of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations, equipment and everything else. So let's get right into it. What this character is basically going to be about is we are playing as a gunslinger, but only in terms of perks basically, because we are going to take another look at a weapon configuration, so to speak, that I found out about like quite a while ago, and I to this day really love, which is using the 10mm pistol as an automatic version, despite still benefiting from the gunslinger perks, by using the tweaked automatic receiver, which in my eyes has some quite significant benefits. And mainly the benefits we are talking about here is that we can get, well, this is a little bit bugged here, but lately I have real high server issues. The benefit here is that we still get full benefit from the concentrated fire perk despite using this weapon as an automatic, which makes it a really good option when it comes to range. And on top of that, because that's pretty straightforward, we're not using stealth, by the way. We're obviously a vats based character, and yeah, on top of all of that, we are playing as a very light armored character for no other reason than to go with the aesthetic that I wanted to. And speaking about the aesthetic, this is basically a real role-playing character, where I wanted to do something that I wanted to do for quite a while, which is basically recreating the main protagonists from all the Fallout games. And I mean, obviously, all the Fallout games, they were real RPGs, so no two characters looked alike. You played the game the way you wanted and so on. But I wanted to go for like an iconic aesthetic that you can probably just see being in the other games. So I mean, this is a little bit here and there, but I think you get the point. When I think about Fallout 3 and the Lone Wanderer, the main character, obviously by the end game you have really cool stuff like power armor and really crazy weaponry and everything, but the first picture that comes to my mind is basically just the armored wall suit that you get really early on with the questline with Moira. That's just the appearance I really kind of have in mind when I think about the Vault Dweller. And in addition to that, the early game 10mm pistol. This is how I envisioned that guy for the most part, and that's what I wanted to do here. Here we can see, when it comes to a little bit of a tougher target, we might have a little bit of a problem because we really have to mag dump it, but on the other side, we can really mag dump it, no problem. And yeah, that's what I wanted to go for, and I really... The most challenging thing here in my eyes was to recreate the armored vault suit from Fallout 3, which I really loved. I love the aesthetic because obviously the vault suit in and of itself is very iconic, and putting some mixed-matched pieces of metal and leather here and there really made for a cool post-apocalyptic kind of vibe in my eyes. And basically the whole thing is a little bit stupid because I just yesterday found out that apparently there's an outfit on the way which is the armored vault suit, so the timing on this character isn't quite right. But I actually was kind of happy with how well of a recreation in my eyes is possible with what we have in the game. And yeah, the only noticeable downside is obviously we're suffering greatly when it comes to resistances, because we're not using an outfit, so we can't just put mixed-matched pieces down there. And in addition to that, we really have to rely on very light armor. So basically we're using a full set of light armor, 2 metal legs, a left arm which is also metal, and then a light leather torso and a sturdy leather right arm. That's the configuration I went with. Just put the Voltec skin on the leather pieces. I found that worked a little bit better than going with the non-skin version, but that's just personal preference. And overall I really like the aesthetic, but as I just said, we're relatively flimsy. This character is not great in terms of defense, so we went all into offense. And going all offense it creates yet another problem when you're wanting to make use out of a small caliber, well, not small caliber maybe, but like a small weapon like a 10mm pistol. This thing just isn't too crazy in terms of damage output, but as I said in the beginning, making use out of it in a special way, you can really get some good DPS out of this thing by specializing in it. And yeah, as I said, my approach was to go for a guerrilla build basically, but using the tweaked automatic receiver. So we do still benefit from the gunslinger perks rather than the guerrilla ones. A nice other thing that comes with this is that you have a pretty good DPS option for a gunslinger build while still being fully capable of using revolvers, which I really like, but they're just situational. Whenever it comes to stuff like Scorched Beast and so on, you just want something with a bit more of a sustained DPS than a revolver. That's just the problem. But with this setup, basically, you can really go for a gunslinger build and just keep this weapon as a backup. I pretty much always, when I do gunslinger builds, I keep a tweaked automatic 10mm as a backup. Works super well, I really like it. And yeah, on this occasion, it's just the main weapon here. In terms of weapon configurations, there's nothing too out of the ordinary here other than, as I said, the receiver. And yeah, the thing is, we can keep pretty good range with this weapon here. As I said, we're really precise over ranges just because concentrated fire works so well with this weapon. So we can, yeah, as soon as we can actively lock onto something with vats, we can actually start firing. Obviously we have a little bit of a damage drop off over longer ranges, but that's not really a problem because, yeah, this character is just designed to spray a ton of bullets out, and that's the way we get our DPS. So yeah, another big thing here is that I wanted to make a VATS character that doesn't really rely too much on AP refresh pieces. As you know, I'm really tempted to always go for a few powered armor pieces when it comes to making a VATS character. It's pretty much always the best option you have. But on this occasion, I'm just quickly checking so I don't misremember here, but I think we have not a single one. Yeah, so you saw down there, or you can keep an eye out on it for the rest of the video. We don't have good AP refresh actually. We are pretty low on our refresh rate when it comes to our action points. And the reason we can get away with that is because our weapon is so damn VATS efficient. What we are using here is, as you saw, and I told you like 5 times at this point, a 10mm pistol. And in terms of legendary effects, we have a quad version with faster fire rate and less VATS action point cost. So less VATS action point cost obviously makes this a very AP friendly weapon to use, considering the fact that the 10mm pistol is pretty efficient in that regard to begin with. And all of that makes it so pretty much we're good just using Grim Reaper Sprint for the most part. Obviously, if you're fighting something like the Scorched Beast Queen or so, you can't really rely too much on Grim Reaper Sprint to keep you in action, but you always have some ads running around here and there, so you might just have to focus on some smaller targets here and there, or for those situations, keep a Nuka-Cola Quantum at you, or Popcorn, which was recently mentioned in my comment section, which is, yeah, a really great thing to use. But regardless, for most of the time, you don't need any consideration for your action points whatsoever here. And yeah, I really think this character speaks for itself. I love to play with it. If there's one major downside, I do think there is. Yeah, it's basically just the amount of ammo you burn through. That's basically the one thing you have to worry about when it comes to this character. You really gotta consider stuff like having Ammo Smith as a backup perk to swap in, and having Ammo Factory as a legendary perk, or at least have enough perk points to switch it in here and there. You really want to be an efficient ammo crafter for this build, but on the other side, it's 10mm ammo, so if you're kind of active in trading, you can also keep a good stack of that ammo type just by buying it, to be honest. Like, it's in vendors for pretty much never more than 1 cap each, So dumping 10k caps here and there will lend you a big way. And yeah, overall I really enjoy it. As I said, we're relatively flimsy. I mean, we're not the flimsiest I ever made, we're not a Berserker's character, but yeah, especially characters that wield stuff like miniguns or Gatling lasers. Once these guys come into contact with us and actually start shooting us, we're going down pretty fast. But makes it a little bit of a nice gameplay in my eyes, because you're actually just trying to be fast, trying to keep your distance every now and then, which works really well due to aforementioned fact, as I said, that we are pretty effective over mid to long ranges, especially considering that we are using a pistol character. And another thing I have made with this character is I have basically the ability baked into pretty efficiently use cams. So my go-to combination here is Overdrive and Psychotats. Psychotats being the main thing, but yeah, you can kind of stack these two. If you're using Overdrive and then use Psychotats afterwards, you not double down on the extra damage, but you get the extra crit damage from Overdrive and get all the benefits from Psychotats. So we just do that for the last fight here. Some Psychotats and Overdrive. I think those are pretty common camps. I always find that I have a pretty big amount of them lying around. Given I'm not constantly playing with them, so obviously they can drain pretty fast if you're relying on them too heavily, but I found that you don't really need them other than, yeah, fighting bosses or so. So I think it's very sustainable combination here. And as you saw, I'm trying to keep a little bit more cover than oftentimes, like for example if I'm having a heavy gunner character in power armor, yeah, I'm trying not so hard to just be in cover all the time, but when it comes to this character I do. And in terms of legendary effects, obviously quad faster fire rate, less vats cost is a pretty much as good as it gets when it comes to a 10mm pistol. I mean, there are some configurations that work better maybe, but this is really prime 10mm stuff here. I really like it. Vats crits would probably be a little bit more interesting to me than faster fire rate, but that's nitpicking at that point. And I tried a little bit, since I am now on a custom world, I tried a little bit with other combinations, anti-armor and stuff, but despite the reload being very fast, as you see there, and I'm doing a lot of tactical reloads with the quad version as well, having to reload all of the time I found it a little bit annoying just because it felt wrong. So yeah, that's basically it. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the gameplay part of the video so far, guys. I'm really surprised at how well over time I had with this character. Basically no limits whatsoever other than soloing the Scorchbeast Queen. And yeah, I just, now looking at the guy, I think yeah, I could have put a little bit more work into the face to recreate the general Wall Dweller look, but that's just not the point here. Now let's have another closer look at the armor, but I really think, yeah, this is as close as you can get to a armored vault suit with the tools we have available to us now, and I really like it. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the character, and now let's take a look at killing this dude and then take a look at our mutations and everything. So I'm pretty sure this should have been the last guy. We have some ticks over there, but I hope they don't bite us in the arse, so yeah, let's get right into it now. Alright, as you can see, there's a lot going on here. We do have adrenaline mutation, which is currently giving us an effect, even though it shouldn't, as far as I'm concerned, but neither here nor there. As you can see there, we do have grounded. Disconnected my my headset. I hope you hear me, otherwise I'm going to be pretty pissed when I'm looking at the end of the video, but for now let's just assume it is. Yeah, it should be. Anyways, yeah, you can see we do have the grounded serum and the scaly skin serum currently active, so we do have a little bit of a downside on these two, a little bit of a debuff from these two mutations, but when it comes to grounded, there will be no downside to this character, as it's pretty much just less energy gun damage. We're not using an energy gun, so that's not of matter here. And Scaly Skin gives us a little bit less action points, but yeah, as I said, this character is very action point efficient, so that shouldn't be a problem. We are still under the influence of Overdrive and Psychotats, and here you can see we do still get crit damage from Overdrive, and we do get perception, damage resistance, and extra damage from Psychotats. And yeah, that's it about the current effects on the character. Now the more interesting stuff, the mutations. So we do have Adrenal Reaction, Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Grounded, Marsupial, Scaly Skin, and Speed Demon. Pretty chalk standard combination, but with maybe a little bit more than you usually have. So first off, we do have Adrenal Reaction, and as you can see from the debuff there, we do have Class Freak active, because at this point, yeah, I just wanted to have it. I'm going to go over that when I'm talking at perks, but yeah. More damage when we are at low HP. We are not a low health build, but I see this discussion every now and then. I think on some builds, Adrenal Reaction does have a purpose, even though if you're not purposefully are at 20% health all of the time. After all, we are relatively flimsy, so during the duration of a fight we often find ourselves at 70-60% health or so, and at that point we still get some benefit in terms of damage from Adrenal Reaction, so it doesn't hurt us too much. At the cost of 12 HP, that's not much, to be honest. It's as soon as you have room in your build for Class Freak, I think Adrenal Reaction never hurts, so that's why it's in there. Then it comes to Bird Bones and Eagle Eyes. Those are pretty straightforward for a Vats character. Extra perception, extra Vats crit damage, and extra agility for extra action points. All pretty standard stuff, I would say. Not a lot to explain here. Then we do have Grounded, which I just mentioned, and it has to be here basically. I mean, it doesn't have to, but as I said, we are really limited when it comes to our armor, even with all the best modification, all polished and studded stuff on our armor. Yeah, we're just not getting too high in terms of resistances from our armor, so we really have to try and get a little bit more defense by using mutations. So Grounded gives us extra energy resistance, a considerable amount, 100 here. It locks us out of using energy guns. I mean, obviously the downside isn't too crazy once you have Class Freak, which we have, but still, energy weapons will do 12.5% less damage, something like that. Which is, yeah, I wouldn't really use energy weapons with this build, but I don't think it's necessary. I really wanted to have this character primarily use its 10mm pistol, so yeah. It's not a downside at all for 100 extra energy resistance, so not a lot to talk here. Then we do have Marsupial and Speed Demon. Those are always there basically for me. Extra jump height and movement speed. Once you got used to it, you really don't want to play without it anymore. Extra carry weight is nice, considering we really have very low strength and also debuffs from Bird Bones and Eagle Eyes and so on. So yeah, extra carry weight is also nice, but not the major point here. And lastly, yeah, Speed Demon also gives us reload speed. This is nice. We do have a quad version of the weapon, so we don't reload as often as we would otherwise, but still, I do a lot of tactical reloads. I just am used to it, and even if not, yeah, the reload speed on the 10mm is pretty fast, and with Speed Demon you can actually really fast do a really fast reload. So yeah, that's nice to have. And lastly, you can see there Scaly Skin. I already touched upon it. It's also one of those that has actually is still under the effect of the serum, so we do have no downside at the moment. The downside would be 50 less action points, which is down to like 12 or 13 less action points with Class Freak, so we can really live with that considering we have quite a high amount of agility and also some buffs from Bird Bones and so on. So yeah, it's definitely worth it for yet another bit of resistances for reasons I already mentioned when we talked about Grounded. Going over to our equipment, maybe starting off with the weapon. Here it is. It's a quad, faster fire rate, less VATS cost action point, less VATS action point cost 10mm pistol, so really nice stuff here. In terms of modifications, the most interesting part, yeah, it is the tweaked automatic receiver. So yeah, currently we are doing 46 damage, and just so maybe if you don't believe me, that it is benefiting from the Gunslinger perks. let's unequip one, and you will see we have 41. So yeah, not repairing this thing now. It does benefit from the gunslinger perks, despite, as you saw during the video, it is fully automatic, which is nice. Also, the tweaked automatic receiver gives us a little bit more crit damage, if I remember correctly, which is also very nice, synergizing very well with our character, obviously. And the rest here is pretty straightforward, as you might expect here. We do have an aligned long barrel for longest range, and a combination of long range and less vats cost. Precise grip, less vats cost, and a bit more hipfire accuracy, which means a bit more accuracy in vats. But most considerably, the precise version gives you a lot more duration, which is nice to have, since this thing kind of shoots a ton of bullets, so it's breaking relatively fast. Piercing magazine, bit of a combination of extra armor penetration and less vats cost. Reflex sight, just a reflex sight, less vats cost yet again, and a muzzle brake, which I think it doesn't do anything in terms of our vats action point cost, but firstly, I wanted to have it there because I think it looks great, and kind of makes it look more like the 10mm we are used to. It's sadly not perfect in terms of visuals. We would have liked a stabilized barrel or something like that, or at least not stabilized, sorry, but the short barrel. I really just wouldn't want to sacrifice the range though, so yeah, that's what we have here. And yeah, that's it. In terms of skins, I only have the Settler skin. I don't really like that. It's just too out there, too colorful. And yeah, a lot of talk about the weapon, but I think you saw it in action enough to have an opinion on it. And in terms of armor, I wanted to have some different stuff: Ghoul Slayers, Exterminators, Hunters, Mutant Slayers, and Troubleshooters, giving us a pretty good overall 15% damage reduction from a lot of stuff. You don't really get damage reduction from scorched enemies or from, let's say, mole miners. I'm pretty sure there's nothing that reduces them, or people like humans, but especially Mutant Slayers and Troubleshooters I find always useful. Ghoul Slayers and Hunters, it's just, yeah, I wanted to have a pretty good all-rounder for such a cheap armor set, let's say. In terms of other effects, we do have extra agility on 2 pieces, I think that was it, and yeah, fire resistance, yet another piece with extra agility, one with intelligence. So you can see the point here. It's really mixed match. There's really nothing particularly I wanted to have, and all of that, considering we do have the mutations, brings us up to 238 damage resistance, which is kind of lackluster, but still enough for our purpose. You saw it there. We can keep good range, stay out of fire, and we have relatively good survivability. And the other one, that's a bit more satisfying, 323 energy resistance. That's a good point. That's not bad at all, considering what we have on our character here. So yeah, overall, pretty decent combination here. And obviously, how should it be different? In terms of under armor, we went with the Vault Suit. Obviously, when it comes to a Vats character, always your best option will be something like the Shielded Harness, any Radar under armor that gives you extra perception and agility, but it really wasn't necessary on this occasion, and the Vault Jumpsuit is just a really good all-rounder, giving you extra intelligence, endurance, strength, and luck. Nothing terribly necessary here, but yeah, as I said, we needed to have a Vault Suit because, remember, we wanted to recreate the Vault Dweller here. And all of that being said, we're now here with our build itself. Looking at strength, pretty obviously here, this was a dump stat for us. I just invested 1 perk point to have Bandolier, which this card is already shared. Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm sharing it. I'm not in a team. Must have been an accident. Anyways, we carry a ton of 10mm pistols on us. Yeah, we're carrying a ton of 10mm pistols on us. Obviously not. We're carrying a ton of 10mm bullets on us, and yeah, while they aren't all that heavy or anything, they can weigh you down just because we don't really have terribly good carry weight. So yeah, Bandolier was a pretty obvious pick here. In a perfect world, I would have liked to have some defensive perks like sorry, how's it called? Am I stupid? No, I probably am. Blocker, but On the other side, I found that I was very rarely swarmed by melee enemies just because, yeah, jumping around, keeping range, and killing them off before they can get to you worked pretty well. Then we do have Perception, which is relatively low oftentimes when I go for a gunslinger character or a guerrilla one. I wanted to have a little bit more Perception and fill it up with stuff like glow sight or even exterminators and stuff. On this occasion I went relatively low just because, as I explained, concentrated fire works terrifically well on this character. The high fire rate combined with the full effect of getting more accuracy with every shot, other than with typical automatic weapons in this game nowadays, makes it very efficient. You really start to hit your enemy pretty fast. So it wasn't really necessary to go higher with Perception. I just wanted to have Concentrated Fire maxed out, obviously, and Tank Killer for armor penetration. Stagger Chance is nice when you're fighting tougher enemies, but I found it not working too well. It's really the armor penetration I was after here. Then we do go over to Endurance, which is at 8, so pretty much in the middle there. I wanted to have at least a little bit endurance going on, so just because, yeah, our armor isn't the greatest. Fireproof was an obvious pick here. You could have gone with the dense chest piece, but I am pretty sure, at least, maybe I forgot to do it, but I wanted to have the biocom mesh on my torso piece, so I get even more mileage out of my cams. So yeah, I went with Fireproof instead of dense here, and the other perks, yeah, went into cams. Simple reason here, while it is a really good weapon in my eyes, it has kind of a roofing where you say a certain amount of enemies, you just feel underpowered, and yeah, having a little bit of help when it comes to damage output by using cams can bring you a long way. So yeah, cam resistant and cam fiend are there, which I found a nice decision for this character. Alternatively, rank 5 of Ironclad. This would be one of those situations where I think that would actually be a good decision if you are not one to use cams all of the time, or don't really bother to use stuff like cam resistance and so on. So yeah, Ironclad rank 5 would also be pretty good decision in my eyes on this occasion. And then we have something I think we have never seen so far on any of my builds in this game. So yeah, we do have 12 charisma, and especially odd since we're not meant to play in a team. Obviously, from the first perk you can see here, Lone Wanderer, we are meant to play this as a solo build. The only real reason is I wanted to, for once, have a little bit more charisma, and yeah, Lone Wanderer and Tenderizer, these are pretty obvious picks here. I often go with that combination. Extra damage, on especially on automatic weapons, is really good with Tenderizer. 10% multiplicative damage after the first shot, really nice. Lone Wanderer, just for having at least a little bit AP refresh going on. This is the only thing we do have in going for us when it comes to action point refresh, and a little bit more tankiness. And really, I think, yeah, the Lone Wanderer from Fallout 3, you had to include the perk, right? So yeah. Then we do a Field Surgeon here. This is a pretty obvious choice once you see a little bit to the right here with Intelligence. We do a First Aid. Since we are a relatively flimsy character, I wanted to have our Stimpaks at maximum efficiency. Now, we're not really maxed out because we could have a set of armor with the legendary effect that makes them even more efficient, but yeah, Field Surgeon and First Aid together make it so we really can rely on our Stimpaks to keep us alive, which in my eyes yet again plays a little bit into the nostalgia when it comes to Fallout 3, because in that game, even if I went for a tankier character, I felt like, yeah, spamming Stimpaks was just a pretty considerable part of the game, in my eyes at least. So yeah, Field Surgeon makes them work a little bit more quickly, First Aid a little bit better overall. Yeah, that's what I wanted to have here. And lastly, we do have Hard Bargain. This is a complete waste, obviously. You can usually, or you should usually, just swap that thing in, swap it out again when you're not in combat. Usually when you are at the train station and interacting with the vendor, there's no enemies around, so you do have time to do something like that. I just wanted to have it in here. As I said, I wanted to have higher charisma for once, just to mix things up a little bit, and I felt like, yeah, in Fallout 3 I was tempted to always go for a little bit more charisma than in Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, or Fallout 76 for that matter. So yeah, having hard bargain here just felt nice here. After all, buying and selling in Fallout 3 was really inefficient in my eyes. So investing a little bit into making that more prominent was thematically fitting. However, yeah, as I said, feel free to completely ditch this. This is in no way necessary or adds anything to the character other than headcanon, basically. So yeah, that's it. Then we go to intelligence. I'm not going to talk about first aid because I just did that when I was in charisma for some reason. And yeah, then we do have nerd rage. This is yet again, for some reason, just in my eyes, thematically fitting for Fallout 3. For some reason, yeah, I can't explain it, and it does actually work relatively well on this character here. We're not utilizing it in any way, basically. It's just, yeah, a failsafe. For example, when we are in a tougher fight and we are concentrating on fighting enemies, we may not have the concentration to look at our health bar, and yeah, basically Nerd Rage gives us a visual confirmation that we are really in trouble, and combine that with Field Surgeon and First Aid means that if we react, we basically pretty much always have time to heal ourselves up, unless we are unfortunately staggered or something like that. Yeah, this just altogether, this First Aid and Field Surgeon is basically our failsafe to keep us alive, in my eyes. I hope that makes sense, but yeah, obviously you can use something else as well here. Then we do have Agility, the first stat here that is maxed out for obvious reasons here. Pretty much always the most interesting stat when it comes to gunslingers or guerrilla builds, just because there's so much going on. Agility has a ton of useful perks for every build in my eyes, and that creates a little bit of a problem once you're using guns that use the gunslinger perk or the guerrilla perk, because yeah, if you want to max out their damage, you are occupying 9 perk points and are left with only 6 more to use for all the other good stuff here. So things that are noticeably absent, which are very often in my builds, adrenaline, sorry, it's not absent, it's literally one perk I kept. Action Boy. Then another one I really like is White Knight. So yeah, Gun Fu maxed out. You get the point. We do have all the gunslinger perks maxed out, adrenaline maxed out, and rank 1 of Gun Fu. I really for once wanted to go all in on the damage perks here and literally have no convenience perks here. Maybe you could argue that Gun Fu is a little bit of convenience perk, but I think it actually makes your combat more fluent and everything. So yeah, not a lot to say here, despite it being one of the more important stat trees here. Yeah, max out gun damage, max it out even further during tougher fights where you end up killing a lot of enemies in short succession. Once you have adrenaline going on, you really have good damage output. You saw that when we were fighting the super mutants, they were going down pretty quickly. And Gun Fu, yeah, I just love Gun Fu when, especially on guns. I think it's very fitting. I think I don't really have to explain it. And then we do have Luck, which is also maxed out, and here is Grim Reaper Sprint, which I talked about, works really well with this build just because we are so action point efficient. Then we do have Better Criticals and Critical Savvy. So these three are basically the holy trinity of VATS perks in my eyes, which they should always be the center of your VATS build, unless you have something very specialized, like maybe a shotgunner that uses 4-leaf clover instead of a Critical Savvy. Or yeah, on some other occasions, maybe you just want to avoid Critical Savvy because you're not really having enough luck. Like if you have under 15 luck, it might not be the most efficient way to use your luck perks. But yeah, Critical Savvy, Better Criticals, and Grim Reaper Sprint, those three are pretty much cornerstone of every VATS build in my eyes. So yeah, on this occasion I went with those, giving me room for Class Freak, which I really wanted to have included just because I have quite a few mutations going on here. and starch genes. Obviously these two work very well together. We want to keep our mutations and not get any new ones, so starch genes had to be there. And just so we get a good effect from critical savvy, I wanted to have luck maxed out, so we can get a crit on every third shot, which is not optimal, but really the investment we would have needed in order to get a crit on every second shot is immense at this point, so it wasn't really worth the opportunity cost in my eyes. And that's why yeah, we went with 15 luck and not legendary lucked it up and everything. So yeah, the last thing I do have here is one rank of Bloody Mass, because yeah, I wanted to have 15 luck, and that meant, yeah, due to starch genes we have one perk point left, and one perk point basically you can do whatever you like, it won't break your character or anything. And yeah, I went with Bloody Mass just to give us yet a tiny bit of extra damage. Now that I said it, I'm just curious how much it actually is. I never really looked it up. So we have 46 damage, which I could have remembered actually. And without Bloody Mass we do have 45, so it's literally one damage point, which is kind of stupid, but yeah, at least sometimes enemies explode, and so I think that's a nice thing, right? God damn it, like 5% extra damage means 1 point of damage. That's ridiculous. And yeah, now we're left with our legendary perks, and yet again I wanted to switch them up a little bit here. Usually what I do is I just go all in on extra special points basically, but not this time around. I tried to have quite a few convenience perks, because I think the appeal of a character like this one here would probably be more to people that have nostalgia for the older games and don't really care for min-maxing all that crazy bloody builds and everything, and really getting the most out of their build. So yeah, what I wanted to have is extra agility, so we are at 15 agility base, meaning that this just gives us extra action points. So not having access to legendary agility would not change the build in any way other than having a little bit more action points to use. Then we do have legendary intelligence, maxed out at rank 5, rank 4, which means 5 extra intelligence. So yeah, basically without it you would go with rank 1 of first aid and that's it, but you can easily use a few perk points from charisma, put them into intelligence, and you're there again. Keep in mind, hard bargain was just there for flavor here. So yeah, this build, and Leslie, we do have some luck. I forgot about that, but yeah, you can really get really close to recreating this build here without any legendary perks whatsoever. Another legendary perk I do have here is Master Infiltrator. In my eyes, pretty much one of the most casual legendary perks. I still really like it though. Being able to just unlock every terminal and lock with just one point of legendary perk point investment is really nice to have. Obviously it's not for everyone, but it's really a good perk for those of you who are explorers. Really, other than stuff like hard bargain and so on, using the lockpick and hacker perks is quite a hassle. Like, you're usually in an indoor situation, you don't always want to run around, kill everything, and then come back to the terminals and everything. So yeah, this just is a very convenient thing in my eyes. Same for Ammo Factory, it just really reduces the grind for ammo. Now you can really efficiently just swap it in and out by crafting a ton of ammo once in a month or something like that, and basically that's worth 1 perk point in my eyes you spend for unequipping it, but I just left it in there for aforementioned reasons. And lastly, we do have water rats. Really nice. This is the most casual legendary perk I always use. Basically, it's just convenient. Obviously, it's in no way necessary. It's not enough to keep you rat free in a nuke zone, so basically it's just convenience for not having to use it right away every now and then, which is very abundant. So you could always live without it. Keep in mind, we did live without it for years, basically. But yeah, once I got used to it, I really can't live without it anymore. It's basically the marsupial mutation of legendary perks in my eyes. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope that the last 20 minutes of talking here have been recorded, since I wanted to say unequipped my headset, but yeah, just unplugged it. Otherwise, I'm pretty mad. But anyways, you won't hear that discussion if it's not working. So yeah, that's it. That was the Lone Wanderer. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm just now remembering, I think at the beginning of the video I said the Wall Dweller. So yeah, no, this is the Lone Wanderer. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time, guys. Bye.